Kim Tae-ho stretched his arms and looked out at the stars through the front window of his cargo ship. The Busan runner was old and made strange noises, but it had carried him safely between Mars and the outer colonies for 15 years. Today was supposed to be just another routine trip, carrying rare minerals to Europa Station. He checked his navigation computer. Everything looked normal. The ship was flying smoothly through empty space far from any planets or space stations. Tae-ho had made this journey hundreds of times. He knew every star pattern, every safe route, and every dangerous area to avoid. The coffee maker beeped and he poured himself a hot cup. The bitter taste reminded him of home on Earth, where his sister Sojin was probably sitting in some military meeting right now. She always worried about his long trips alone in space, but Tae-ho enjoyed the peace and quiet. That peace ended when his ship's alarm system started screaming. Red lights flashed across the control panel. The navigation computer showed 3 massive objects appearing out of nowhere, surrounding his small cargo ship. Tae-ho had never seen anything like them. The ships were huge, at least 10 times bigger than the Busan runner. They looked like they were made of smooth dark metal that seemed to bend light around it. "What the hell?" Tae-ho whispered, his hands moving quickly over the controls. He tried to contact them on all standard communication channels but got no response. These weren't human ships. He had never seen designs like these in any database. The alien ships moved with impossible grace, positioning themselves above, below, and to the side of his vessel. Tae-ho felt his heart beating faster. He reached for the emergency beacon that would send a distress signal to Earth, but before he could activate it, something incredible happened. A bright blue light surrounded his ship. Tae-ho watched in amazement as the metal walls of his cargo bay became transparent like glass. Through the clear walls, he saw tall figures moving toward his ship. They seemed to be walking through space itself without any protective suits. The beings were unlike anything Tae-ho had ever imagined. They stood nearly 8 feet tall and appeared to be made of living crystal. Their bodies gave off a soft white light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Instead of faces, they had smooth surfaces that reflected the starlight. As they moved, Tae-ho could hear a strange humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. 3 of the crystal beings materialized inside his cargo bay. Tae-ho grabbed a wrench from his toolkit, knowing it would be useless but feeling better with something in his hand. The beings moved slowly toward the door that led to his main cabin. The ship's computer suddenly came to life with a voice he had never heard before. It spoke in perfect, clear English. "Human pilot, do not be afraid. We are the Veltari. We mean no harm. We wish to speak with you." Tae-ho's mouth felt dry. "How are you speaking English? How did you get on my ship?" "We have studied your communication methods. We can translate our thoughts into words you understand. Please, we have questions." The largest of the crystal beings stepped forward. When it spoke, the computer translated its harmonic vibrations into words. "What species are you? From which world do you come?" Tae-ho thought this was an odd question. "I'm human. I come from Earth." He said it simply without thinking it was important. The moment he said Earth, all 3 alien beings stopped moving. Their crystal bodies went completely dark for several seconds. Then they began pulsing rapidly with bright, almost blinding light. The humming sound became louder and more frantic. The largest being stepped back as if Tae-ho had struck it. "Did you say Earth? The world called Earth?" "Yes, that's right, Earth. Why?" "What's wrong?" The beings began communicating rapidly among themselves. Their harmonic sounds became so intense that Tae-ho had to cover his ears. The ship's computer struggled to translate the overlapping conversations. Impossible. The legends speak truth. They still exist. After so long. The warriors who defeated the great darkness. The ones who vanished. Finally, the largest being turned back to Tae-ho. When it spoke, its voice carried a tone that sounded almost like respect mixed with fear. "Human of Earth, we did not believe your kind still existed. The stories say your people disappeared from known space thousands of years ago. We thought you were legend, like stories told to children." Tae-ho frowned. "Legend, what are you talking about? Humans have been expanding through this part of space for centuries. We have colonies on dozens of worlds. You speak truth? There are more of your kind?" "Of course. Millions of humans live throughout this solar system and beyond. Why is this so surprising to you?" The being's crystal body dimmed again. "Because, human of Earth, your people are spoken of with great respect and great fear throughout the galaxy. Long ago, when the great darkness came to consume all worlds, only Earth stood against it. Only humans found a way to drive back the endless hunger. Tejo felt confused. Great darkness? What great darkness? I've never heard of any galactic war. The Void Swarm. They devoured entire star systems, turning all life into more of themselves. Every species tried to fight them and failed. Every species except yours, the alien continued. The stories say humans studied the enemy, learned their weaknesses, and led a war that pushed the swarm beyond the edge of known space. Then when victory was won, humans vanished. Some say they were destroyed in the final battle. Others believe they retreated to heal their wounds. Tejo set down his wrench. This was too much to understand all at once. I think there's been some mistake. I'm just a cargo pilot. I carry mining equipment and supplies between colonies. I'm nobody important, no mistake, human. The star charts we carry mark Earth as a legendary world. The coordinates match what you have shown us. You are proof that the warriors of Earth still live. The being's light pulsed more slowly now, as if it was making an important decision. Human pilot, what is your name? Kim Tejo. Kim Tejo of Earth. I am Captain Velcon of the exploration vessel Crystal Wind. I must ask something of great importance.
Will you come with us?
Come with you, where? To the Conclave Station, where representatives from many worlds gather to keep peace in the galaxy. They must know that humans still exist. They must know that the warriors of legend have returned. Tejo looked around his small familiar ship, then at the alien beings who seemed to glow with excitement. His simple cargo run had just become something much bigger than he could have imagined. What about my ship? My cargo delivery? Your ship will be brought safely with ours. The minerals you carry are less important than the news you bring. Kim Tejo, you may be the most important human in the galaxy right now, and you do not even know why. The journey to Conclave Station took 3 days. Tejo spent most of that time in a guest room aboard the Veltari ship Crystal Wind. The room was beautiful but strange, with walls that showed moving patterns of light and furniture that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Captain Velcon visited him often, bringing a crystal being named Kolan, who served as the ship's historian. Kolan was smaller than the other Veltari, with a body that glowed soft blue instead of white. Through the translation system, Kolan's voice sounded old and wise. Tell me about this legend, Tejo said during one of their meetings. I need to understand what you think humans did. Kolan's crystal body pulsed slowly as if remembering something from long ago. It began 4,000 years ago, according to our records. The Void Swarm appeared at the edge of the galaxy. At first, we thought they were just another hostile species. We were wrong. The historian projected images into the air using some kind of advanced technology. Tejo saw star maps showing the movement of dark shapes across space. The swarm did not want territory or resources like normal conquerors. They wanted to consume everything living and turn it into more of themselves. They were like a virus, worse than a virus. They were intelligent. They learned from every species they absorbed. Each world they took made them stronger and smarter. The Kefri were first. An entire insect civilization, billions of beings converted in less than a month. More images appeared. Tejo saw planets covered in dark, writhing masses. The atmospheric collective lasted longer because they lived in gas clouds, but even they fell. The Verdani, who were plant-like beings, tried to hide underground. It did not work. Kolan's light dimmed with sadness. One by one, every species in the galaxy either joined the alliance against the swarm or was consumed by it. The alliance grew desperate. We fought with everything we had, but we could only slow them down, not stop them. Then the swarm reached Earth, Captain Velcon added. We expected humans to fall quickly like all the others. Your world seemed small and weak compared to the great civilizations that had already been destroyed. Tejo felt a chill, but that didn't happen. No, Kolan said. Instead, something amazing occurred. The swarm attacked Earth with enough force to destroy 100 worlds, but after 6 months the attack stopped. Then reports began reaching us of swarm fleets being destroyed. The images changed to show battle scenes. Tejo saw human ships that looked somewhat like the designs he knew, but more advanced and dangerous. Humans did not fight the swarm the way other species did. Instead of trying to protect everything, humans studied their enemy. Studied them how? Humans captured swarm creatures and took them apart to understand how they worked. Humans let the swarm take some of their worlds, then watched to see what happened next. Humans did things that seemed crazy to the rest of us. Captain Velkon's crystal body grew brighter. The stories say humans discovered that the swarm had a weakness. They were connected by some kind of shared mind across space. If you could find the right frequency, you could disrupt their connection. Kolan nodded. But finding that frequency required getting very close to the swarm's main fleets. It was incredibly dangerous. Many human ships were lost in these research missions. Once humans understood the enemy, they shared this knowledge with the Galactic Alliance. But more importantly, they led the counterattack themselves. Human commanders took charge of alien fleets and taught us new ways of fighting. The images now showed massive space battles with humans and aliens fighting together. The war lasted 2 more years. Slowly, the Alliance pushed the swarm back toward the edge of the galaxy. Humans always led the most dangerous missions. Tejo watched the images with growing amazement. So humans saved the galaxy? Yes, but at great cost, Kolan said sadly. The final battle took place near the galactic rim. Humans used a weapon that disrupted the swarm's shared mind across an entire sector of space. It worked, but the energy release was enormous. What happened to the humans? That is the mystery, Captain Velkan said. After the victory, human ships simply vanished. Some said they were destroyed by their own weapon. Others believed they retreated to heal from their wounds. But all contact was lost. Kolan added, the few human worlds that other species knew about were found empty. Not destroyed, just empty, as if humans had packed up everything and left. For thousands of years we have wondered what happened to the warriors who saved us all. Tejo rubbed his forehead. This was hard to believe, but the aliens seemed completely sincere. And you never found any trace of humans after that? None. Until yesterday when you said the word Earth, now we know humans did not die out. You simply moved to a different part of space and continued living your lives. But why didn't we stay in contact with the rest of the galaxy? Kolan's body pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps humans were tired of war. Perhaps you wanted peace and decided to build your new civilization away from the old battlefields. There is wisdom in that choice. Captain Velkan moved closer to the window that showed the stars rushing past. Kim Tejo, do you understand why your arrival is so important? For 4,000 years, the galaxy has lived in fear that the swarm might return. We have built our defenses and trained our fleets, but we have always wondered if we could win without human leadership. And now we have hope again. The warriors of legend still exist. If the swarm returns, humans can lead us to victory once more. Tejo looked out at the stars and felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. I'm just one person. I'm not a warrior or a leader. I don't know anything about fighting cosmic threats. But you are human, Kolan said gently. The blood of the galaxy's greatest heroes flows in your veins. When the Conclave Council sees you, they will know that legends can become reality. The next morning, Tejo woke to find the ship slowing down. Outside his window, he saw the most incredible sight of his life. Conclave Station was huge beyond imagination, a city in space that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Ships of dozens of different designs moved in and out of docking bays. Lights twinkled like stars across the station's surface. Welcome to the center of galactic civilization, Captain Velkan said as he entered Tejo's room. In a few hours, you will meet representatives from species across the galaxy. Are you ready? Tejo took a deep breath. He thought about his sister So-Jin back on Earth, probably worried sick about his disappearance. He thought about his simple life as a cargo pilot, which now seemed like it belonged to someone else. I guess I have to be ready, he said. But I hope they understand that I'm not the legendary hero they're expecting. Perhaps not, Kolan said, joining them at the window. But you are something even more important. You are proof that heroes can exist in ordinary people, and that the greatest legends are simply stories about people who did what needed to be done. As the crystal wind approached the massive station, Tejo wondered what his sister would think when she learned that her cargo pilot brother had become humanity's first contact with an entire galaxy of alien civilizations. Back on Earth, Admiral Park So-Jin stared at the empty space where her brother's ship should have been. The tracking beacon from the Busan runner had gone silent 3 days ago, somewhere in the outer system near Jupiter's orbit. Search and rescue teams had found nothing but empty space and, "Ma'am, we've completed the grid search of the entire sector," reported Commander Lee Hyun-woo, a young officer with sharp eyes and quick thinking. No debris, no distress signals, no trace of the ship at all. So-Jin frowned at the star charts displayed on the bridge of her flagship, the Soul. Ships don't just vanish, Commander. Something happened to Tae-ho out there. Dr. Choi Min-jung, the fleet's science officer, looked up from her sensor readings. Admiral, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures in the area where Captain Kim disappeared. The patterns don't match any known human technology. Show me. The main screen displayed a complex wave pattern that pulsed in regular intervals, so Jin had never seen anything like it. Could this be from an unknown human research project? No, ma'am. I've checked with all our secret facilities and experimental programs. This energy signature is completely alien to our database. Engineer Nam Ji-ho, who had been quietly studying the readings, spoke up. Admiral, if I may suggest something. These energy patterns look like they could be from some kind of advanced propulsion system, something that works differently than our fusion drives. So Jin made a decision that would change human history. Prepare a reconnaissance fleet. I want our most advanced ships ready for departure within 6 hours. If there are unknown forces operating in our space, we need to know about it. Ma'am, shouldn't we contact Earth Command first? Commander, my brother is missing and we have evidence of alien technology in our solar system. I'm not waiting for bureaucrats to hold meetings while Tae-ho might be in danger. Meanwhile, at Conclave Station, Tae-ho was experiencing the most overwhelming day of his life. The station's main council chamber was enormous, with seating areas designed for dozens of different alien species. Some beings sat in pools of liquid, others hung from the ceiling, and a few existed as clouds of glowing gas. When Captain Velkan introduced him as Kim Tae-ho of Earth, the reaction was dramatic. Several insect-like creatures that Kolan had identified as Kefri immediately dropped to the floor in what looked like bowing positions. A group of plant beings called Verdani began making musical sounds that the translation system said were songs of celebration. But not all the reactions were positive. A delegation of red-skinned humanoids called the Zephyrians stood up and demanded proof that Tae-ho was really from the legendary Earth. Anyone could claim to be from a mythical world, declared their leader, a tall female with glowing yellow eyes. We need more than just words. Tae-ho felt nervous standing in front of so many alien beings, but he tried to stay calm. I can show you star charts from my ship's navigation computer. I can tell you about human colonies throughout our local area of space. I don't know what other proof you want. The council's speaker, an ancient Kefri named Yithara, raised one of her forearms for silence. Her insect-like face was covered in scars and her voice carried the weight of centuries. The human speaks truth. Our long-range sensors have detected the energy signatures of human ships in the sector where Captain Velkan found him. She turned to address the entire council. But we face a more urgent problem than verifying legends. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected something that fills me with dread. The main display screen activated, showing a map of the galaxy with pulsing red dots near the outer edge. The void swarm has returned. A wave of fear swept through the chamber. Some beings began making distressed sounds while others sat in stunned silence. Tae-ho felt a cold chill as he remembered Kolan's stories about the ancient enemy. How many ships? Asked a Verdani representative, her leaf-like skin turning pale green. Our best estimate is over 10,000 vessels, but they appear to be different from the swarm we fought long ago. These ships are larger and show signs of advanced technology. Yithara's scarred face turned toward Tae-ho. Human of Earth, your arrival could not have been more perfectly timed. The galaxy needs human leadership again. Tae-ho felt panic rising in his chest. I keep telling everyone I'm not a military leader. I'm just a cargo pilot. I don't know anything about fighting wars against cosmic threats. But you are human, said a voice from the gaseous beings. Humans see patterns that others miss. Humans find solutions when others find only problems. Before Tae-ho could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed as Yithara received an urgent message through her communication device. The border world of Kepler 442b has gone silent. It was home to 3 million Verdani colonists. The chamber fell into complete silence. Everyone understood what this meant. The swarm had begun their attack, and it was happening faster than anyone expected. How long since last contact? Yithara asked. 6 hours ago, they sent a routine status report. Now all communication has stopped. Long-range sensors show massive energy signatures in that system. A Zephyrian commander stood up. We should send a battle fleet immediately to investigate. And lose more ships? Replied a Kefri general. We need to know what we're facing before we commit our forces. Tae-ho, listened to the aliens argue about strategy, and suddenly found himself thinking about the problem like he would approach a difficult cargo delivery. Sometimes the best route wasn't the obvious one. "Excuse me," he said, raising his hand. The entire chamber turned to look at him. "What if we're thinking about this wrong?" Ithara gestured for him to continue. "Speak your thoughts, human. You're talking about sending big fleets to fight the swarm directly. But what if we sent small, fast ships to gather information first? If the swarm has new technology, we need to understand it before we can fight it." The Zephyrian commander scoffed. "That's exactly what scouts are for. We've already sent reconnaissance ships. But have you sent ships designed to study the enemy instead of just observing them? Back when humans fought the swarm before, we won by learning how they worked, right? Maybe we should do that again." Ythara's scarred face showed what might have been a smile. "The human thinks like his ancestors." "Very well, Kim Taeho. If you were planning this reconnaissance mission, what would you do?" Taeho thought about it carefully. "I'd send ships that could get close without being detected. I'd want to capture some small swarm creatures if possible, and I'd want to record everything about how they move, how they communicate, and how they attack." "And who would command such a mission?" Ithara asked. Taeho realized she was testing him, someone who understood both the old stories about fighting the swarm and modern technology. Someone who could think differently than the swarm expects. Someone like you. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Taeho again, but this time he didn't panic. Instead, he thought about his sister So-Jin, who had always been brave in the face of danger. He thought about the millions of beings who might die if the swarm wasn't stopped. "I don't know if I'm the right person," he said honestly, "but if there's no one else available, I'll try." Just then, another alarm sounded. This time, the message was even worse. "2 more border worlds have gone silent. The swarm is advancing faster than our worst projections." Ithara looked around the chamber at representatives from dozens of species. "It seems we have no choice but to trust in legends becoming reality. Kim Taeho of Earth, I hereby appoint you as Special Advisor for Swarm Defense Operations." As the meeting ended and aliens began rushing to prepare their fleets, Taeho wondered what his sister would think when she learned that her cargo pilot brother was now responsible for helping defend an entire galaxy. Unknown to him, So-Jin was about to get some answers of her own. Her reconnaissance fleet had just detected the same energy signatures that had marked her brother's disappearance, and they were coming from ships unlike anything in human space. Admiral So-Jin stood on the bridge of the Soul as her reconnaissance fleet approached the coordinates where Taeho had vanished. What they found was beyond anything she had imagined. 3 massive alien ships hung in space, their crystal-like surfaces reflecting starlight in beautiful patterns. "Admiral, we're receiving a communication signal," reported Commander Lee Hyun-woo. "The translation software is working, but the language structure is completely unknown." "Put it through." A harmonic voice filled the bridge, speaking in accented but clear English. "Human vessels, this is Captain Velkan of the Veltari exploration ship Crystal Wind. We come in peace. We have someone aboard who wishes to speak with you." So-Jin's heart jumped when she heard her brother's familiar voice. "So-Jin, is that really you?" "Taeho, thank God you're alive. What's your status? Are you being held prisoner?" "No, nothing like that. These aliens are friendly. In fact, they've been treating me like some kind of honored guest." "So-Jin, there are things you need to know. Important things about humanity and the galaxy." Over the next hour, Taeho explained everything he had learned. So-Jin listened with growing amazement as her brother told her about the Galactic Conclave, humanity's legendary status, and the return of the Void Swarm. "You're telling me that humans are considered galactic heroes, and now there's an ancient enemy attacking alien worlds?" So-Jin rubbed her forehead. "Taeho, this sounds like something out of a science fiction movie." "I know how it sounds, but it's all true. The aliens want to bring human ships to Conclave Station. They think we can help them fight the swarm like our ancestors did thousands of years ago." So-Jin looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Commander Lee looked excited. Dr. Choi was already taking readings of the alien ships, and Engineer Nam was studying the energy signatures with fascination. "Taeho, I'm a military officer. I can't just take my fleet to an alien space station without authorization from Earth Command." So-Jin, 3 worlds have already fallen to the swarm. Millions of beings are dead or captured. If humans really did help save the galaxy once before, don't we have a responsibility to help again? Before So-Jin could answer, Dr. Choi interrupted with urgent news. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy discharges from the direction of the galactic core. Something big is happening out there. Captain Velcon's voice came through the communication system again. Admiral Park, we have received word that the swarm has attacked 3 more worlds simultaneously. The Conclave needs human assistance now more than ever. So Jin made the decision that would bring humanity into galactic politics. Captain Velcon will accompany you to Conclave Station. But I'm also sending word back to Earth Command. If humanity is going to help fight this threat, we need to do it properly. The journey to Conclave Station took 2 days. During that time, Sojin's crew had the chance to interact with Veltari technology and learn about galactic civilization. Commander Lee spent hours studying alien tactical databases, while Dr. Choi worked with Veltari scientists to understand swarm biology. Engineer Nam was particularly excited about the advanced propulsion systems. Admiral, their technology is incredible. They can manipulate space itself to travel faster than our best ships. If we could combine their technology with our engineering approaches, one thing at a time, Nam. First, we need to understand what we're getting into. When the combined fleet arrived at Conclave Station, the reaction was even more dramatic than when Taeho had first appeared. Word had spread that human warships were coming, and representatives from dozens of species gathered to see the legendary warriors' vessels. Sojin was impressed by the station's massive size, but she was more interested in meeting with military commanders to understand the tactical situation. Her reunion with Taeho was emotional but brief, as both siblings understood that personal feelings had to wait while they dealt with the crisis. In the main council chamber, Ithara introduced Sojin to the assembled representatives. Admiral Park Sojin of the Earth Defense Force, welcome to the Galactic Conclave. Your brother has already proven invaluable as an advisor. We hope human military expertise will help us face the swarm threat. Sojin studied the tactical displays showing swarm movements. Her military training immediately spotted patterns that the aliens had missed. You're trying to defend too many positions at once. The swarm is forcing you to spread your fleets thin, then hitting you where you're weakest. A Zephyrian general bristled. We cannot simply abandon entire worlds to the enemy. I'm not suggesting abandoning them. I'm suggesting drawing the swarm into a trap. Sojin pointed to the display. Look at their attack pattern. They're moving in a predictable spiral toward the galactic core. If we evacuate the population from certain key worlds and set up false energy signatures, we can make them think those worlds are still defended. Commander Lee, who had been studying the alien databases, added his own observations. The swarm seems to prioritize worlds with high population densities. If we can make some empty worlds look populated while hiding the real populations elsewhere, we might be able to control where they attack next. Dr. Choi had been working with Verdani scientists to analyze captured swarm specimens. I've discovered something interesting about their biology. The individual creatures are much more advanced than they were 4,000 years ago, but they still seem to rely on some kind of shared consciousness network. The same weakness humans exploited before? Taeho asked. Possibly, but the network appears more sophisticated now. We'd need to get much closer to their main fleet to study it properly. Engineer Nam had been quietly working with alien technicians to adapt human technology for use on alien ships. Admiral, I think we can create hybrid vessels that combine our tactical systems with their advanced propulsion. It would give us capabilities neither of our species has alone. The next few days were a blur of activity, as humans and aliens worked together to prepare defenses. Sojin found herself coordinating multiple species fleets while Taeho served as a liaison, helping different groups communicate and understand each other. Then came the news they had all been dreading. Long-range sensors detected the main swarm fleet moving toward the Conclave Station itself. How many ships? Sojin asked. Over 50,000, Ithara replied grimly. They appear to be targeting the station directly, trying to destroy the heart of our alliance. Sojin looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. It was larger than anything humanity had ever faced, but she felt a strange confidence building inside her. Working with the aliens had shown her that humans did think differently about tactical problems, and that difference might be exactly what the galaxy needed. How long before they arrive? 6 days, assuming they maintain current speed. Sojin turned to her brother. Taeho, I need you to coordinate with all the species representatives. We're going to need every ship, every weapon, and every tactical advantage we can get. Tejo nodded. What's the plan? We're going to show the swarm that the legends about human tactical thinking weren't exaggerated. But first, we need to get a message back to Earth. If we're going to save the galaxy, we're going to need more than just one fleet. As alien and human crews worked together to prepare for the largest space battle in galactic history, both siblings understood that their simple lives as a cargo pilot and a military officer had ended forever. They were now part of something much larger than themselves, fighting for the survival of countless civilizations they had never known existed. The swarm was coming, but for the first time in 4,000 years, humanity would be ready to meet them. The largest fleet in galactic history surrounded Conclave Station as the Void Swarm approached. Ships from dozens of species hung in formation, their different designs creating a beautiful but deadly array of weaponry. Human vessels, sleek and purposeful, took positions throughout the alien fleet like threads holding a tapestry together. Tejo stood in the station's command center, surrounded by communication equipment that let him coordinate between species that had never worked together before. His simple cargo pilot uniform had been replaced with formal diplomatic clothing, but he still felt more comfortable talking to ship captains than to politicians. All fleets report ready, he announced to his sister, who stood at the main tactical display studying the approaching enemy. Admiral Sojin had spent the last week working with alien commanders to create a battle plan that seemed impossible. The combined fleet would face an enemy force that outnumbered them 5-1, using tactics that had never been tried before. The swarm fleet will arrive in 2 hours, reported Dr. Choi from her sensor station. I'm reading over 60,000 ships, including some vessel types we've never seen before. Commander Lee looked up from the tactical computer where he had been coordinating with alien strategists. Admiral, the hybrid ships are ready. Engineer Nam's modifications to the Veltari and Kefri vessels seem to be working perfectly. Nam himself was aboard one of the modified ships, leading a team of human and alien engineers who would be crucial to the battle plan. His voice came through the communication system with barely controlled excitement. Admiral, these hybrid propulsion systems are incredible. We can outmaneuver anything the swarm has. Sojin studied the enemy formation on her display. The swarm ships moved in perfect coordination, like a single living organism. But her human tactical training spotted something the aliens had missed. They're too organized, she said suddenly. Yuthara, who had been coordinating the alien fleets, turned to look at her. What do you mean? Look at their formation. It's absolutely perfect. No individual ship variation, no tactical flexibility. They're all connected to some kind of central command system. Tejo realized what his sister was thinking, the same weakness our ancestors found. If we can disrupt their command network, the entire fleet becomes vulnerable, Sojin finished. But we need to get close enough to their command ships to study the network frequency. Dr. Choi had been listening to their conversation. Admiral, I think I can modify our sensors to detect their command signals, but someone would have to get within a few kilometers of their main fleet. Commander Lee volunteered immediately. I'll take a fast ship and get the readings you need. No, Sojin said firmly. This mission is too important for just one person. I'm going myself. Sojin, that's too dangerous, Tejo protested. It's my responsibility as fleet commander. Besides, if something goes wrong, you'll need to coordinate the battle from here. As the swarm fleet came into visual range, everyone in the command center could see the dark mass of enemy ships through the station's viewports. They moved like a living shadow against the stars, consuming light itself. The battle began with long-range weapons fire from both sides. Alien energy beams and human missile systems lit up space in brilliant explosions. The hybrid ships that Nam had helped create proved their worth immediately, dodging swarm attacks with impossible grace while returning devastating fire. But the swarm's numbers were overwhelming. For every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. The Alliance fleet began taking heavy casualties within the first hour. We can't win a straight fight, Yuthara admitted as damage reports came in from across the fleet. Sojin was already prepared for this moment. Then we don't fight straight. All ships implement Plan Chaos. This was the part of human tactical thinking that the aliens found hardest to understand. Instead of maintaining organized formations, the Alliance ships began scattering in apparently random directions. To outside observers, it looked like the fleet was falling apart in panic. The swarm, programmed to respond to organized threats, began pursuing individual groups of ships, This split their massive fleet into smaller sections, exactly what Sojin had hoped for. Now, Taeho, send the signal. Taeho activated the communication system that connected to every ship in the Alliance fleet. All vessels execute Dragon's Teeth. What looked like a panicked retreat suddenly reversed. The scattered Alliance ships turned and attacked the divided swarm groups from multiple directions simultaneously. Human tactical coordination combined with alien firepower created devastating results. But Sojin knew this would only buy them time. She piloted her fastest ship, the Modified Soul, directly toward the center of the swarm fleet where the largest enemy vessels waited. Sojin, what are you doing? Taeho's voice came through her communicator. Getting those sensor readings. Dr. Choi, are you ready? Sensors are configured and recording. Admiral, you're getting into extremely dangerous territory. The Soul raced through the battle, dodging swarm fire while heading toward the massive command ships at the center of the enemy formation. Sojin felt her heart pounding as enemy vessels closed in around her. Got it. Dr. Choi's voice was triumphant. I've isolated their command frequency. It's a quantum entanglement network, but it has a critical vulnerability. What kind of vulnerability? If we can generate a specific resonance frequency, we can cause feedback through their entire network. It won't destroy them, but it will disrupt their coordination for several hours. Sojin was already turning her ship around, racing back toward friendly lines as swarm fighters pursued her. How do we generate this frequency? Engineer Nam's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, if we modify the station's main power core, we can create the resonance pulse. But it will require shutting down all other systems, including life support and artificial gravity. Taeho understood the implications immediately. Everyone on the station would have to evacuate to the ships. And the ships would have to hold their positions perfectly while the pulse charges up, Sojin added, as she dodged another swarm attack. It will take at least 10 minutes. Ithara made the decision without hesitation. Begin evacuation immediately. All ships, prepare to defend the station at all costs. The next 10 minutes were the longest in galactic history. Alliance ships formed defensive rings around Conclave Station, while the swarm threw everything they had at the apparent target. Hundreds of ships were destroyed on both sides as the battle reached its climax. Inside the station, Nam worked frantically with alien engineers to modify the power core. Taeho, I need you to coordinate the timing exactly. If we fire the pulse too early or too late, it won't work. Taeho watched the displays showing both fleets locked in desperate combat. His sister's ship was still racing back from the swarm fleet, damaged but operational. All around the station, Alliance ships fought with courage that inspired beings throughout the galaxy. Pulse ready in 30 seconds, Nam reported. All ships, prepare for resonance pulse, Taeho announced. At exactly the right moment, Conclave Station released a wave of energy that swept across the entire battlefield. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then all at once, every swarm ship stopped moving. The sudden silence was eerie. Thousands of enemy vessels hung motionless in space, their perfect coordination broken by the resonance pulse. Now, Sojin's voice rang out across all communication channels. All ships attack now while they're vulnerable. The Alliance fleet struck with everything they had. Without their network coordination, the swarm ships couldn't respond effectively. In less than an hour, the massive enemy fleet was destroyed or scattered. As the battle ended and rescue operations began, Taeho found himself standing in the rebuilt command center next to his sister. Both of them were exhausted, but they had achieved something that seemed impossible just a week earlier. The swarm fleet is retreating toward the galactic rim, Dr. Choi reported. Long-range sensors show them scattering in all directions. Ithara approached the two humans, her scarred face showing what might have been a smile. Once again, humans have saved the galaxy, but this time, you will not vanish into legend. Over the following weeks, Conclave Station became the center of a new kind of galactic civilization. The Human Galactic Alliance was formally established, with Earth joining as a full member of the Conclave. Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation began between humanity and dozens of alien species. Taeho found himself appointed as the first human ambassador to the Galactic Conclave, a job he never expected but discovered he enjoyed. His ability to help different species understand each other made him invaluable in the new alliance. Sojin became the first human admiral in the Galactic Defense Force, working with alien military leaders to prepare for future threats and to explore the unknown regions of space, where new civilizations might be found. 6 months after the battle,
Tejo stood on the observation deck of his new ship.
a hybrid vessel that combined human engineering with alien technology. He was heading out to make contact with isolated human colonies, bringing them the news that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Dr. Choi had joined his diplomatic mission, along with Commander Lee and Engineer Nam. Together, they would help expand the alliance by finding new member species.